All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is the TRC Sales Training Call. Today is Friday, March 16th of 2018, and I'm excited to do this. I know that I had a couple stand-ins who I heard did a good job last week, thanks to Paul and Patrick, who stepped in for me while I was on the road with my good friend Willie Miranda and his company. And I will tell you, as I report back from the road to you all, I think it's very important to understand that there are a lot of things that we are doing right when it comes to sticking to the plan, because there are a lot of people out there that I'm noticing are really going up against top producers. Up in Willie's office, for example, there was a lot of top producing, especially there was about 4 or 5 gals that have been around the business for a long time, and they end up going up against some young hotshot, and I know the challenge for them is that they're not sticking to a plan. So it becomes very important for us on the sales training call to get back to and stick to the plan. And so what I mean by the plan is that we have a 7-step seller plan, we have a 6-step buyer plan, and we go over that over and over. And it's stunning to me to hear from team leaders when they come back and tell me that their team members who have learned that plan steps with me go out and say something completely different. You see, the challenge is when you're getting guidance, you either accept that guidance or you don't. Ignore it at your own peril, blow off the edge of Mount Everest when you don't listen to the Sherpa, say, yeah, I wouldn't take that left turn. That's me. I'm here for you. I'm trying to make it my problem when something doesn't go right for you. Meaning, when I give you something, it's usually exactly what I'm doing in the field. And now, that doesn't mean what I'm teaching you is always exactly correct. We all make mistakes. We all make evolution. You're either expanding or contracting. But I'll promise you one thing. If you follow the plan, you'll recognize its universal appeal. That's a universal way to help a buyer or seller. And so you need to be able to articulate that, because you're all getting this case of intellectual insecurity, thinking that you don't know enough, your resume's not long enough, whatever it is that's causing this insecurity, so that you default towards arguing almost, right? When you get on the phone with somebody and you're doing inside sales and somebody challenges you, well, what have you sold? Don't get defensive, right? Lean in when the dog bites. I say it every single week. Lean in when the dog bites. And what that means is that when there's objection, admit the weaknesses that they're trying to call out in you. So for example, if you don't sell a lot in a particular area, just recognize that, state that. That's not going to change. You're not going to all of a sudden become a new agent, move into a new area, move into a new price tranche like luxury, and all of a sudden miraculously have resume. You're just not. But what you do have on my watch, every single time you have that opportunity, is a plan. Okay? So when I get into this today, excuse me, I'll see if I have Paul Mahalowicz's team, because Paul and I were talking, and one of the challenges we heard from him was that people are not sticking to the plan right after we talk about it on the sales call. So I'm going to open up the microphones here. Remember, *6 unmutes your microphone, *7 mutes it. If you're in a loud place, go ahead and mute your mic, please. If you're in a loud place with a speakerphone, just turn it down. But the best thing that you could do here is participate. Oops, hang on one second. Looks like I'm lost. Looks like I just got kicked off. Hang on. For those of you that are online, somebody tell people inside the group that we will be right back. Skype ran out its meter on me, and let's see if it'll allow me back in here. 1 second. Here we go. Hang on 1 second. It's like Uber running out of money, and all of a sudden they just kick you out of the cab. Hang on 1 second.
Conference. Please enter the conference ID. Thank you. Moderator ID accepted. All guests are currently muted. To unmute all guests, press 9. For help with host options, press *0. You will now be connected with the conference.
All right, sorry about that. I'm back in here. Got kicked out, ran out of the meter money on Skype, and was able to just do it quickly here. Okay, so let's get back to what I was saying. I want some of you to lean in here with me right now, and if I have Lisa and or Leslie, you're up first, because I talked to Paul about this, and I was a little thrown off to hear that it wasn't being adhered to. So let's get right after it. We'll open up the mics here, okay? Here we go. All right, who do I have? Do I have Lisa?
Yeah,
Who is that, Lisa?
yeah, I'm here.
Lisa?
Yes, Lisa's
Oh,
here.
all right, cool. So Lisa, let's get right into this. I think that you are probably guilty of trying to default to too many ideas and not sticking to formula. And you can push back on me if that's not the case, okay? But I believe after talking to Paul, for his whole team and anybody that does this, it is to a certain extent. So, you see, the point is, I want to go all the way back to universal conversations. I'm not going to get into context here, meaning somebody's a FISBO, an expired, a probate, whatever they are. I want you to think that every single time that you're talking to a potential seller lead, that seller doesn't have any context other than they're trying to sell. And so the default is, and the basic training is, you need to know the 7 steps. So in your mind's eye, how rooted are you in that concept of 7 steps? What would you say?
To be clear, I use that every single time.
Okay.
And I think where Paul was thinking of that, so I've been an agent now for 8 months.
Yep.
I literally have sat down with him 2.5 times now
Yep.
to practice a listing presentation.
Sure.
Everything else I've done on my own or in front of clients.
Yep.
And so when I started off this process, it was, doing some of like the regular listing presentation that she used to do before you presented us with the 7-point plan.
Yep.
So I've been trying to combine those two, and we actually just sat down the other day with another agent, and that was probably the best session ever because the other agent was able to give me super good feedback.
Yep.
But I've been asking Paul a lot to say, look, I need to sit down in front of a real life person and get that feedback because me sitting in front of a client, I don't know if what I've been doing this whole time, obviously it's not working,
Yeah.
but I don't know what I'm doing wrong, so I need to figure it out.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Yeah. Let's talk about that. You and Leslie are sitting right there in the same office. You should be doing it. You should also be doing it with anybody that's currently in your sphere of influence and anybody that you know, friends, family, anything. It doesn't matter to whom you give this presentation. Just give it and let anybody give you. You have to be resourceful. See, Paul, I am Paul's resource for you. So it's either me and or a role play partner at Birmingham Realty or your friends. Right? I mean, it's anybody. What I would say, and I've said this thousands of times to every team member, you've got to get in these houses and talk to real people in open houses. Paul has multi-listings every single week. So my question is to you and Leslie, how often are you open housing? Because there's no better place to have a 7-point or a 6-point discussion than in an open house.
I'm doing them every week, and I've got both the listing and the buyer presentations on the counter next to the spec sheets of the home.
Yep. And?
So, yeah, if somebody's there and they're interested, I've definitely pulled them out and talked to people if they weren't being represented by an agent. So I use it all the time, and even in the listing presentation, like, I was kind of torn because I was feeling like, yes, I was been thrown a lot of different directions on how to do the presentation, and I don't have enough practice in front of like a partner. And so... All
right, stop for a second. Hold on. What do you mean you've been thrown in a lot of different directions with the 7-point plan?
No, not with the 7-point plan.
Okay.
I mean with this other listing presentation.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. If you have anything else on my watch, please get rid of it. I need to isolate this for Paul and for you. Get rid of it. Because I think that the one you have is probably a more of a contextual situation or somebody else's opinion. I'm only trying to find the truth about how we should talk to a potential seller. There's 7 steps there, right? That's what it is.
Right.
Okay? So stop going anywhere else. Don't ever again, after this call today, ever reference anything else until you've mastered the universality of a conversation with the seller. So here you go, role play number 1. I want you to tell me, we're just standing up, we're at an event, I want you to tell me, you don't really have a long resume, Lisa, in Birmingham, and I know all these other top producers. Why should I choose you to list my house?
Well, I think you should choose me because we have a strategic 7-point plan. And I know a lot of other agents out there don't have that. So if you have a couple minutes, I'd love to go over exactly what that plan entails.
I do. You have me listening. 7 points. I want to hear about them. What are they?
Okay, great. So let me ask you, do you want to price your home to have it sell quickly, or would you like it to stay on the market?
Yeah. Okay, see, already that's not it. See, that's almost sounding like sarcasm. You know what I mean? So see, the way that we present this too, and I'll stop it quickly so we can really break this down in role play, because there's no better feedback than really from me, because I wrote it. Hold on. I really want you to understand that my immediate reaction to that was you made me feel like I was stupid if I said one versus the next. Don't do that. There's no reason. I want you to take on the role. I'm going to have you start again. I want you to take on the role as teacher. Because what that made you sound was insecure, and it made me feel uncomfortable, and I'm just simply role-playing. So imagine if I'm feeling uncomfortable, that you're making me feel stupid. That's not a good start. I might now not be listening anymore. So I want you to appeal to that nurturing female side that you have, and I want you to put on a teacher's cap, and I want you to take me through this, okay? So start again. Why you? Tell me about your 7 points.
Yeah, so I want to explain. We have a 7-point strategic plan that will get your home sold. So let's go over this. The first thing we want to do is go over pricing, and I have printed off comps of the area so that you can get an idea of what homes have sold for and are currently on the market in your area. So let's take a look at those first. Now, what is your thought on what you'd like to list your home?
Well, like I told you before you came over, I'm hoping to get about 420,000, and I am hoping that you heard me say that on the phone, right?
Yeah, definitely. I was just, asking again just to make sure. So we're at
Sure.
420,000. And now, conditioning of your house. Is there anything major or even small minor repairs that you know of to be able to get your house up to selling standards?
Geez, I don't know. That's why I was hoping to have you over here.
Okay, great. Well, let's definitely take a walk through the home, and we can help. I can help you take a. See, I'm like totally. This is where I feel like totally blown off, because I felt like, for one, I was doing this one presentation and pulling this in basically when they would ask me what I would do, and then now I feel totally thrown off because you're telling me to throw away this whole other part. That's what I was doing.
Okay, well, hold on. So here we go. First of all, setup is everything. Number one, if you take it all the way back to the foundational starting point of whatever, and I'm not going there on this call. I don't want to talk about exactly where it starts and what the orientation of the seller is, because this is a universal process at this point. So once we're beyond the initial way that we get them or how we're talking to them, the first thing is to book a good appointment. I am not a fan of booking this tacit, light appointment. I'm only going over to a property, or Laura's only setting me up for a property where my visit is substantial. Doesn't mean that they're ready to list right then. There are many reasons I will go over to somebody's house before they're ready to list. Number one reason is to coach them and to teach them how to prepare, so that down the road when they are ready to go, they've been preparing properly. So setup is your first problem. So I'm going to teach you that right now, okay? The first thing that you would have done, and I'll give this to you because you'll send me an email, you'll get an intake sheet. Hey, thanks for, inviting me over. I want to be thoroughly prepared, Lisa, before I come over, so I'd like to ask you a few questions. So, Lisa, on the form that I'm going to give you, this intake form, and Paul might have something similar, but there's definitely going to be a question about, well, what do you think the property's worth? Well, I don't know, Lisa. That's why I'm having you come over. Oh, that's no problem. I understand that, and I'm excited to do that. But before I come, I'd like you to tell me what you think it's worth, because I'd love to bring some supporting documentation to support that number. So see, the big fight that's about to happen, it could be a passive-aggressive fight, is most people don't want to admit what their property is worth or is not worth. And so some people get downright ornery, and the law of corroboration kicks in, that the minute they say it's worth something, they don't want to hear anything else other than something that supports that. So let's just lean in before the dog bites, right? And so I've set that up that way. By the way, Lisa, before I come over, I just was wondering, are you interviewing any other agents? Because if you are, I'd like to come in last. And all I ask is that you don't list before I come over. Well, why? Well, because I'd like my plan, which I think is very comprehensive, to be compared to everybody's. We have a very comprehensive 7-step plan that I'll be going through with you, and I'd like it to be compared to everybody's. So if I could come in last and just ask that you don't sign, I know this plan is really super beneficial, so I'm sure you won't want to, right? So now I'm set up correctly. So as I go to the home, now there's a whole other rigmarole or standard or system or formula that I follow every time. Hey, thanks for having me over. I really appreciate it. Nice to meet you face to face. Could I put my bag down for a second and then ask that you maybe give me a nickel tour so I know the product that I'm talking about? So you just got all discombobulated again because you're not following the formulaic approach to be set up for this teaching moment. Because the number one thing is, how can you talk about price, condition, and staging, which are all the first 3 stages of preparing a property for marketing? See, everybody wants to, well, how are you going to market my property? Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about pricing, how to recondition and stage it to move up in pricing, and then and only then will we discuss about the complexity of marketing it and making a market for it. So why don't we just go for a nickel tour of the property? If you could take me inside and outside, kind of walking around. So now, as we're walking around, Lisa, I'm picking up on 2 things. What type of personality are they? And oftentimes if it's a husband-wife, oh yeah, she'll take you, oh, he'll take you. So now I see that maybe one person is more motivated to talk to me than the other. I'm observing the environment or the marketplace within which I'm standing. I'm a market maker standing inside the product, trying to make a market for my services. So I'm trying to see how this goes. Now, when I walk through the house, what am I trying to do also? I'm trying to gauge whether this property needs to be reconditioned, can be reconditioned, and really what status it is right now. Is this an average house? Is this above or below? What is this thing? And that's what I want to know. You following me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, as I go through this whole thing, the basic idea is that as I'm walking through, I now have true insight into the product to do what? Match it up with the plan. Because I'm trying to personalize this conversation around what's most important to them, which is their product. Now, see, if you're really sticking to the plan, you don't have to get so, overwhelmed by everything. The plan is universal. It relates to any kind of person, any kind of property that you have, right? Anything. So I'm never fretting the product. I'm not under this gun to come up with a magical answer because this is a process, not an event. I'm not here playing pricing it right bingo to try to win this. I'm confident that they need my plan. They need it. It's the universal order of properly doing this, and setting up that conversation also has a universal order. What do they think it's worth so that I can bring the documentation, give me the particulars on the house so that when we go into MLS and we analyze, we are very, very specific about what's happening, right? So now, because Leslie just said, I think dealing with the seller's attachment to price is a tough challenge. Of course it is, but that's where you lean in. Because as I go into the plan, I'm going to lead the jury to a conclusion. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to compete with some knucklehead who says whatever they, yes to their price. I'm not interested. If you're not interested in hearing my professional plan, then you're not my avatar or ideal client. I need somebody who understands and appreciates a professional approach and professional advice. That's what I'm giving. I really don't care who I'm up against to that extent, other than I like to know who I am because I know what they're going to thump people with and try to beat me on, right? Because they don't have a plan. So it's going to be something like brand. It's going to be something like resume. But I'm not aware of many people that have as exact a plan and at a deep level they understand it as I do. They have resume, no doubt. Okay? But I'm trying to bring an extremely professional approach, which makes me unique. Leslie, and I can see Leslie's online. I don't know if you're in there. Lisa, you with me?
Yeah.
Questions so far before I keep going?
No.
You follow the process though, right? All the way from the phone, if there is phone contact, to getting to know their product, getting to know them. This is more about listening, okay? Much more about listening.
I mean, we have like pre-qualifications that I ask before I get to the property, and then I do my due diligence research and print off my CMAs when I get there. And then, so that's just where I was just getting confused as trying to do multiple different presentations all at the same time and packing them all in.
Well, you're not. Stop saying that. This is a dialogue. I'm going to lean in hard on you today. This is bad dialogue that you just threw out again. Stop saying there are multiple presentations, okay? There is a universal order to things that we're all in pursuit of, and it is the same formula. It is not different. They are not competing. If you're talking about scripting and what to say, maybe. But there's a universal order to things when we go to sell a property. Now, everybody discombobulates them and they have their opinion. But would you agree with me that pricing it right is the number one challenge, yes or no?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's the key to it. I don't necessarily think that's the number one challenge, but it's definitely a huge factor in how you actually sell the home.
You're not going to make a market for a property unless it's priced in the right range. Would you agree? Correct. No. Say it with enthusiasm. This is a universal statement. A property priced incorrectly does not sell. Period. There's no arguing that point. So just like you're fighting.
My only hesitation in that is if we do take like an overpriced listing and then are going into it knowing that and then work on reducing the price over time. Ideally, it would be great if we can just price it correctly.
Okay, I would never teach you that. You will never catch me taking something overpriced unless it is a very open discussion and there's a very clear reason why you and the seller have agreed to do so, which is dealing with... Hang on. Which is dealing with Leslie's question about getting a seller off of a number, okay? It's a very, very difficult, important subject. You've got to be prepared to discuss price if you want an honest approach to listing and selling that property. You have to be. And you have to have good evidence, so you have to become very good at CMA. We use a little bit more of an analysis beyond that. There's a thing for realtors that's available called RPR. You should all be using that. It is a mechanical, technical, algorithmic way to determine a tighter price range. And it is evidence of where this thing will change. And you should present it from the very first beat. Now, having said that, Leslie's not wrong. People latch on to a price like pit bulls. Oftentimes, we don't know why in the very beginning. I would recommend if they are completely unreasonable and there is no conversation with you about price reductions that will have to happen, then you've made a mistake taking the listing. I've done it plenty of times. Plenty of times enamored with where it was, what it was, have I taken a listing expecting that I would have subsequent conversations to bring it down. It did not happen, and who got blamed? Me. And that will happen to you. So more and more, as time's going on, I am telling people, if I do not have the evidence to support the trading range for this property, understand you are not going to call me up and complain about what I'm not doing. Because that's not the way this works. If you absolutely, unequivocally have to start a little bit outside the range, and I mean a little bit, I'll bite, but you're going to hear from me in 30 days. And I want you to say, I understand, and I will see you in 30 days. If I don't have that overt conversation, that explicit conversation with somebody, then there's no chance I'm taking that listing, because I'm certain that the minute price is either right or wrong as my first step is going to set up all the rest of the discussion. There is no sense of even talking about conditioning, staging, marketing, communication that happens from showings, negotiation and closing if I have the price wrong. I am dead on arrival if that price is wrong. You can argue that, but you're going to have a tough time winning it.
I feel like I'm right there already, Danny, right now.
Okay. Right where, Leslie?
And the guy, I have a house that, all went to the meeting with me. We sat down, and this guy is so attached to this price, he literally reduced it $1,000 when putting it back on the market. It's already been listed twice.
Okay.
And he
his wife is very elderly and is in the house, so now we can't even do an open house. And I guess I'm just feeling, and then Paul is so busy, you know.
All right, hold on. All right, hold on. Stop.
I don't have the
Stop. All right,
confidence to go
stop.
back to him.
Hold on. Stop. You guys have both gone after Paul in this conversation, and I don't like it because Paul has me to help you. Stop looking for Paul. Start being resourceful, and start being resourceful with me. I'm going to ask you both.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have you done to be resourceful to convince this person that you are indeed going to be able to demonstrate what the price is? And why are they so attached? Look, you have a psychology background. So where's your evidence to move this person, to empower this person to the right decision, and then determine why? Why do you know why he's so stuck to the price?
Well, I think I know why. He looks like he's sitting there with high blood pressure and is going to have a heart attack any minute.
Do you know why he's attached to the price?
I think it's because, you know, he needs to go and buy a different house. His wife is elderly, literally in the back bedroom, so elderly. And so we can't do any open houses because his wife, who is
all right, stop.
Like,
hold on, stop. Leslie, stop. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're going down this slope of blaming everything else. And the truth is, you really don't know the answer. And I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm trying to just get through these two paradigms that you and Lisa have. Okay? You're not doing enough to listen by digging in deeply and saying, look, my observation here is that there's an elderly situation and you seem really stressed out about this. And I'm guessing that's why you're attached to this price. Is there a reason? Are you trying to net a certain amount of money because you're worried? You haven't even asked those questions.
I guess I'm so afraid I'm going to make a misstep. So one of the things I did, for example, is I sent him an auto email of all the houses that are like showing in his area in that price range, so he can see what else is in that price range, which is who he's competing against.
So you want him to make a decision. So you want him to make a decision based on that info?
I guess I don't feel confident enough to just make an appointment and go and talk to him.
Well, you better get over it. You better get over it, or it's a lose. Lean in when the dog bites. I'm not going to stop saying it. This is on you. Okay. This is not on Paul. It's not on the guy. It's not on anybody. You signed up for this opportunity, right, and it's been granted you. Yes. And you are not doing the job. I know that sounds harsh, but you are not doing the job, right? You're not. You're hiding somewhere behind a computer, which is ironically what's happened to all of us. We're hiding. We've got to stop being so afraid. Win, lose, or draw. You fear this sense of loss. You've already lost. This guy's going nowhere at the right price. This is a loss already. You've got to get the evidence, put it in your backpack, put a knife in between your teeth, and get in there and fight for this guy. You've got to advocate for this guy. You've got to break this guy down until he breaks and he's in tears telling you why he's afraid. You haven't done the job yet. Period. You're not in there.
I don't honestly feel empowered to do that for some reason because I don't know. I don't know. Because then, so even just sending that email, that auto email, then the response from Paul, and I shouldn't be deferring to him because I don't mean to be blaming him.
Yeah.
I just am, he said, well, I would have waited and done that in person.
He's right.
So
he's right, unless, hold on. There's a better process. Let's go back to what I was doing with Lisa. Lisa, you still with me? Lisa, you still with me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So here's how we go. Now, Lisa's in that house. You're in that house to begin with. Where your systematized approach is broken is that you are not defining expectations from the minute the relationship begins. That's the key in any sales. I've got my good buddy Ivan, the best spray foam guy in the world, on here on the sales training. Always be learning. There's a process to explaining anything so that as the client, I was expecting a certain outcome, which I got. That's why I like Ivan. Okay? That's why I like anybody that I do business with. If you say, I say, hey, there's what I need. Why you? There was all sorts of other ways I could have gotten insulation, but why you? Well, because it'll be tighter. Well, because it's greener. Well, because and I said, okay, those are the good reasons, right? And then how much? How much is it? And then I get to compare it against something else, right? And what does that include? It's the process that somebody takes you through until finally you break into a zone of comfort and trust. Okay? Now that doesn't happen just because they give you the listing. That's a step in trust. But the minute they break and they tell you their true story, that's when there's a relationship. When there's a connection of deeper trust is when it gets humanized. And you're trying to do it from the back of a computer, it will never happen. So the only deals you will consummate will be the ones you get lucky enough on that they react to. Okay? I mean, look, this is what business is, period. If you need to go out and make a market for something, you need to, number one, make that market with your own seller. They have to keep hearing from you, keep trusting you. So I get through the listing presentation. I said, good, here's what's going to happen next. I know we cheated a little bit outside the range of where we think this will trade based on evidence. So unfortunately, there's no evidence to support this, but I'm going to acquiesce. So that means I want you to be paying attention to pricing with me over the next 30 days as if you're a realtor. So I'm going to go back to my office and I'm going to set you up on an auto feed in MLS so that every time something comes on and sells, more importantly, around you while we're on in the next 30 days, you're going to know it and we're going to discuss it and how that's affecting you. Because the number one way that your price is affected is the hyper-local market, right down to a couple streets and maybe a neighborhood that you're in. So you'll be getting that. And then in 30 days' time, if not sooner, we will be sitting down having a face-to-face about this price. Do you agree? So you get them indoctrinated into the process that's about to happen. And more so, the reason why you're scared now and why most realtors end up expiring listings. Lean in on this one, everybody. This is a critical concept. You start off by playing this wild Russian roulette or bingo game to get the listing. It's a very tacit, oh, I work for this XYZ brand. Aren't we great? Or yeah, sure, that price sounds great. That's listings bingo. Okay? You're cheating the process and you're killing yourself to end up in this situation. Time's going on. And they're getting angry, and they're getting frustrated, and they're questioning you and what you do, and you're getting more defensive. And as you get defensive and beaten up and scared, you begin to do what, Leslie? You withdraw. And the further you withdraw, the harder it is to re-inject yourself back into the situation, grab the bull by the horns, and act the professional. It's not Paul, it's not Danny, it's Leslie, it's Lisa. It's up to you to go create the relationship. These are just the technical skills we're teaching here. The technical skills to go back in and say, hey, remember 30 days ago, we went over the 7-point plan and I told you pricing it right was the most important thing. We did some reconditioning things. We did some staging things. We got good pictures up. Well, the good news is there seems to be some traffic. The bad news is the marketing and the push marketing, especially in your case, we can't really do open houses because of your wife, right? So we're a little bit challenged here. So we got to sit down and revisit this whole thing. You follow me?
Yes, that's what I need to do. And I guess I just need to go in and, do what I think is right. And I've been feeling like, because I co-listed, Paul helped me get the listing or was at the meeting, but he's not available. I need to just go. And if it doesn't,
Leslie, go without him. Leslie, go without him. Go without him. Stop looking for him. Stop looking for him.
Okay.
Just stop. You don't need him to go. Every time you think you do, and he's busy. This guy's a top producer. He's busy. He's hired me to help you. I'm giving you what you need so you can swim on your own. Get off the dock and go do this yourself. Okay? You are very good at relationships. Stop waiting for something to happen and make it happen. Like you're creating this massive paper tiger in your head that's talking to a seller about a price reduction after you make a deeper human connection. You're acting as if that's foreign to you, right? It's not. It's just not. That level of human relationship is not foreign to you given your background at all. What are you waiting for? Nobody. Paul, Danny, the seller, nobody's coming for you. Nobody. Nobody. Go do it. Even if you're clueless as to exactly what to say in the plan, go in there and say, you know what? I just thought it was a good time for us to visit. It's been a real tough situation getting people to come here, and I want to just sit down and talk about it. Get off this phone when this call ends and book that appointment. Period. Like, look, the longer, and I'm sorry to be so animated here with everybody today. I'm fighting.
No, this is exactly what I need to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm fighting paradigms, and this happens in this business a lot. We have these false belief systems that the big bad wolf is on the other side of the phone, that the big bad wolf is waiting there, that all the big bad wolves are our competitors. It's nonsense. And in fact, where I was going with Lisa earlier was she's discombobulated on the plan. She's adding these weird tonalities and all this stuff. Lisa, that's not you. You know what I mean? Like, ladies, just be authentic. Do you. The worst thing that you can do is maybe stumble and fumble over the 6 or 7 point plan, depending on whether you're talking to buyers and sellers. That's the worst that can happen if you do you. If you're trying to listen to Paul or anybody else and trying to do them, you're dead on arrival, even with a good plan, because it's not authentic. You stop making that connection. You follow?
I totally agree. And so one of the challenges that I've had is I've noticed that if I don't get the appointment to meet them in that first conversation when I do connect with them, if I don't have a schedule a time, it's like they never respond again. The emails, a phone call, a text.
Hey, Leslie.
Never respond again.
Leslie, do you own a car? Are you talking about your clients?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you own a car?
Well, yeah. So one house, I went over there. I brought the marketing material, the free seller's course and stuff. I knock on the door. They don't answer, so I leave it at the door.
Hold on. I got lost here. Are these your clients already or potentials?
No, potential.
All right, well, hold on. You shifted gears on me. So I was dealing with a situation where I had your client, correct?
Yeah, and I'm good on that, so I'm going to go.
Okay, good. So now
we're going to have a heart-to-heart.
Okay, now I'm gonna be a little bit of a wise guy, and I hope you laugh and you don't get mad at me. Boo-hoo! You knocked on a door and nobody answered, right? Really? Hey, welcome to the club of getting your teeth knocked in hustle, right? That's part of the game.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. You keep hustling and giving and giving and giving until finally it gives back. You just have to be in this to win this. There is no second choice.
Danny, what happened to the scenario about her going over to the client's house that she has now and getting the price reduction?
She hasn't gone yet, Gail. That was why I was like assaulting her paradigm, right?
I got it, but I got that. I was just wondering how that changed to this other thing. I just want to stay and see what happens, what she's going to do next.
All right.
With my existing client, I'm going to go over and I'm going to bring the statistics and the research and the actual numbers of the actual sold properties, and we're going to have a heart-to-heart. Does he really want to sell it? Because I think what happens a lot around here is they're like, I'll put it out there. Sure, I'll list it, and if somebody comes in at this number, great. And if nobody comes in at this number and I wasted your time, who cares?
Yeah, but hold on. But hold on. But hold on.
It's the top of the market.
Leslie, there's that Leslie, there's that paradigm again. Leslie, that's the paradigm again. What you just said is an ugly paradigm again. You went off on why, like, it's ugly. It's ugly. It just keeps coming up, and it's like you're throwing it up. That's a defense mechanism to protect this fear-based thing you got going on. Stop talking about all that stuff.
Okay.
It's going to kill you when you're going in there. You still missed my main point. Go over with all the analysis ready to discuss it, but don't you dare touch that bag and pull it out until you sit down and say, you know what? I just kind of want to reconnect to this whole thing and really be a good servant to why you're making this move in the first place and what we have to be cognizant of. Because I can see in your face the anxiety, the stress, and I want to recognize that. I also am prepared to say, like, what is bothering you the most about this, right? Because I see that there's been a lot of resistance to the price, amongst other things. I want to hear from you. What are you most worried about? You need to go in there as a listener. You need to let him talk about himself, his own fears, and his stresses. Instead, what you're doing is going in like a kid who's afraid to cross the road for a first time and throwing up all over him. That's what your paradigm is doing. It is. You're walking in and you're puking all over this guy. That's what it sounds like, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, go ahead.
Danny.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is going back to what Lisa is talking about. We have been introduced, the two of us came on so similar time. We have been given two paradigms, and we've been told basically that both are valid. And so I agree, Lisa. We've basically been we've had, like two gods, two heads, two gods.
Oh, well, tell me what they are. Tell me what they are. Get them on the table. Are you
One is the Mike Ferry where you push.
Yep.
You push and you push this script, which is not about being you, which is not about being authentic, which is the opposite of that. But you do need to, when you talk to people on the phone, you do need to push. So we've had two masters, and that's where some of this, I think, our hesitation is coming from, is because we've had two masters, and I agree, I can't do the other one. And so whenever I try to, I can only do like what you say, which is the authentic thing. Otherwise, it's just full on anxiety, and you have no confidence because it's just a bunch of scripts and words. It has no connection to me or to them for that matter. And so that's where that's coming from. Lisa I know exactly. I know what the underlying argument is. Is it the Mike Ferry, brutalize somebody by talking at them the whole time? Does it work? Yeah, there's a lot of people that make that work. They seem to be comfortable with it. You know what I say about it? Blech. Right? Like my kids say to me all the time. I just would never talk to somebody like that. I'll be aggressive and I'll close. You know, oh, hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. Okay.
I'll be aggressive the minute I sense you need my leadership in a bigger way, like today on this coaching call. I haven't been this aggressive with you two, but I can see that you're lost, and I'm going to grab the wheel in the storm that you two have going on for yourselves, and I'm going to tell you, stop. Just stop. And I'm going to give you permission to do you. You guys are not, ladies, hold on. You ladies are not connecting to the human being on the other side of the conversation, learning more about them. Then you can use whatever technique you want to use. You want to use Mike's aggressive stuff at that point. You want to use my stuff more based on a plan that empowers them. You choose. I don't know that you can unpack those two worlds. I think there's skill sets from both that matter, because there are the points where don't want you all to be delusional. When somebody needs a leader and I'm listening to them, I'm not afraid to have a very aggressive conversation. Okay. In fact, I've had some shouting matches with my sellers because they're not listening to me. And if you're going to defer to me as the expert to get this done, you got to listen to me or we're dead, right? Make it my problem. So I do agree with that aggression. And I think that's right. And I think you're missing that. So if you want my aggressive side, Mike's aggressive side, you're missing that right now in being in that house with that person and leading them. You're hiding. That's got nothing to do with one camp versus the next camp. I do agree that in that initial conversation, all this pushing and prodding and I don't know. I mean, you'll have to make that decision. I've told Paul I think it's a mistake. If somebody's not a top producer and it's not in their soul to be a cold caller and pushy, I think it's the exact opposite effect. I think it'll push you two right out of the business. I really do. I think you'll have this perception.
Danny?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Danny. I'm feeling really discouraged, actually, about the cold calling. I hate cold calling.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, somebody else wanted to speak up there. Who's that? Come on. Somebody in Washington.
Oh, yeah. This is Saria.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had some verbiage that we used at my old firm, just listening to the conversation. I think really helped me with those tough conversations with my sellers, especially about price.
Yep, cool. Go ahead.
And basically sitting down with them and saying, hey, you know, a big misconception in this market is that there's so many real estate agents and you come to us for help, but it's just like any other profession. You know, we are specialists, just like a doctor.
Right.
Would you go to a doctor and just hope they call you if you have cancer, or if you're sick, you need the help to get better?
Right.
And that's what our job is.
I like it. That's excellent. Good for
get
you.
you on track.
Yeah, good for you.
Sometimes that's not the easiest conversation to have, but we want to get you better.
Yep.
Because our goal is to sell the house. That's
Perfect.
our only goal.
Yeah. And by the way, take that a little bit.
To make that happen.
Take that a little further. What I'm trying to get her to do is reconnect to why they're moving in the first place. And oftentimes we have to reconnect them there because the process can be so emotional and disturbing. You have to reconnect them and say, look, first of all, I want to come here and just sit down tonight and just let's reconnect to why we're doing this at all. Are you sure you want to do this? See, everybody's afraid to say something like that. Whoa. What if they say no and they take it off the market and have good? Now it's all over and you can breathe again and start next time making sure somebody wants to sell it, right? Sure. I'll bite on that whole thing that, you know, Leslie was going down. Maybe they're not motivated. You should have found that out front because remember that intake. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, Saria, how motivated are you to sell the property? Well, I don't know. You know, an 8? Gee, why only, why only a 7, Saria? How come? And now we're rooting.
My wife's sick. I'm not sure if I want to move.
Yeah, there you go. You see what I'm saying? Now I have context that's individualized that I can deal with because I'm digging in deeper to the human situation. I can always say, great. Now that I know your situation, let me show you my plan and how I would personalize it for you given your situation. See what I'm saying? So I don't care if it's Mike Ferry-esque scripting that gets that conversation started. They get talking. You learn about them. I'm still saying ultimately you need a plan to explain to them. And if you confuse, you lose. You can brutalize into a yes because half the people are so afraid to pick up the phone to begin with. That's why aggressive scripting can work for some people that own it. Because people say, gee, nobody else was aggressive. I don't really love you. You scare me a little bit, quite frankly, but I'm going to list with you because you give me the best chance, right? So what I'm giving you all is an alternative to say, look, dig in deep with the human being as beat number 1. And when you're losing your way during the process with a listing or a buyer who's starting to disconnect, get reconnected to why they were doing it in the first place. Get connected to why they're losing faith in you. Listen to them. Let them have expression. Then you get nice chunky pieces of context and you can deal with it. And if you get constructive criticism, don't get, overwhelmed by that. Don't worry about that. Lean into it. So that you can say, yeah, you're right. I didn't do a good job. That happened to me with one of my clients recently. I thought we were real sloppy in our execution. Laura was on maternity break. I didn't set something up correctly. We had a delay for the entry of a listing. It really hurt. It hurt the guy. We missed a couple of weeks. And so you know what I said to him? You're right. I take 100% responsibility. The good news is I've been leaning in myself heavily since day one, as I always do. And here's this, right? Take responsibility. We screw up, right? Hey, maybe remember when I asked you at the beginning, Saria, what's most important to you? It seems like I can just sense it. I can intuit it. You're mad at me. Tell me why. Tell me why. Just tell me why you're mad at me. Let's get it on the table and let's deal with it. See, why I said this before. I think a lot of listings end up expiring.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Are you talking to me?
Did you hear me?
Wait, I'm mad at you?
No. I was role playing. Did I lose you?
The seller.
Yeah, the seller.
Oh, the seller.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry. It was that real where you actually
Jamie,
became
can I
the
jump in
seller.
and say
Yeah,
something?
hang on. The reason why most people, what I was giving you, Saria, was an example. Have you ever actually looked at a seller or a buyer and said, are you mad at me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Leslie, go do that. All right, one of the guys was trying to speak up. Go ahead, fire.
Yeah, this is Chad Holmes with Rossetti Realty. I
Hey,
just
bud.
wanted to jump in
Sure.
and kind of say, I think that the one thing that this conversation and the selling is missing, I know that we talked about this last week,
Yep.
Or it might have been the week before.
Sure.
But I think you're talking about getting connected with our clients. I feel like this conversation is missing a lot of emotion. You know, we have a seller here who's selling his home probably because his wife is getting sick, and we know that she is going to be expiring soon, and he wants to be able to give, you know, his wife a good, you know, last couple of years. And when I've been listening to all this, I think that's kind of getting overlooked, and people are talking about putting their emotion in for the script. You know, the script is so platonic sometimes reading a script. Well, I think that it's important to keep in mind with our script and with this seller in particular, we have to put ourselves in our shoes, or in their shoes, and like you said, falling in love with our client. Not only falling in love with our client and understanding their situation, but as well falling in love with our script and our seven-point strategic plan. You know, anyone can go in and say, oh, well, this is my 7-point strategic plan and this is why it works. But if there's no emotion and passion and validity behind it, even if it's the best script in the world, we're not putting our emotion into it, it's never going to work. So
Agreed.
I think I just wanted to jump in and say that I think the emotion, I mean, it's coming from all of us individually about what's going on, but I don't think it's coming from the point where it needs to as far as this seller and our emotion and our script.
Agreed. And so two beats there. Wonderfully,
Thank you.
Chat. Yeah, wonderfully stated. So let's back it up because he's absolutely spot on. And we did go back. Actually, it's been about 3 or 4 weeks, Chad, when we got you involved, you know, in that fall in love with this thing. But it does start with the key point here today is and the ladies are expressing this too, Chad, right? They are. They're saying, well, we've got these two camps. And I don't like to try to, I'm not the divisive coach. I'll embrace a Ferry-esque approach with some of the aggression. Mike's made a living as a coach in this business for a lot longer than I have and been very successful in teaching people to be aggressive. I have no problem with aggression. How? Sure, I'll debate that all day long because I'm going to cheat to what Chad just reiterated that I've had as a theme here. I'm in this business for the human connection. I could be on Wall Street still, or perhaps even retired at this moment many times over. But the point is I didn't like it because there was no opportunity to connect and really truly help another human being. You have that opportunity to do that. So there's two beats here. One is to fall in love with the fact that you believe that you have a systematic approach that is the stuff. It's the stuff. And that's what he's talking about, being attached to that and any scripting that you say around that. Hey, look, I've got this great plan and I just know it can help you because you told me about your wife. You told me your wife is struggling and this is my forte. I know I can help you. Let me come over there, show this to you. At the very least, I think I can bring your anxiety level about everything that's going on down. I just think I can do that for you. Right?
Right.
I just got a text from this seller. How coincidental is that?
Yeah, well, because he can hear us. He can hear us talking. He sees us online. I invited him.
Well, and two, especially with the expired, you know that they had a bad experience more or less. I mean,
Yeah, but maybe.
I really appreciate everything you said,
Yeah, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Because Gail and I talked about this a lot. Maybe not. I just want to keep you all connected to what Chad is saying so perfectly here and what he learned back a few weeks ago. He's now owning it because he's able to bring it right back up in this context and say, hey, I'm in love with my plan. So number one beat is fall in love with the plan. It's a safe place. It's an order of things. It is the correct order. I'm not guessing. I do this at a high level for a long time, and I observe top producers in my own mastermind. I know we do things in an order, and I've chunked it up not only for you all, but for the seller's benefit. Look, here's how it works. Here's the price range based on the math. You can move up that by reconditioning. We'll move your furniture around or bring in one of these magician stagers, and then and only then are we ready for marketing. We'll memorialize that footprint with everything that we should, 3D tours, drones, whatever it takes, we will do for you. Then we get that up online through marketing, syndicated through the marketplace. That's how we do this. We like push marketing. And then that will lead to feedback, harsh or not. We will deliver it to you, make adjustments, get into a negotiation based on the very same math we started with, and we will close with care until we know you and your wife are safely in that next house. And by the way, after that, now you become part of our family. It's like the mob. Once you're in, you're never out. Okay? So we will not forget you post-sale.
Italian,
You got it.
Irish mob.
That's right. Yeah. Whatever mob.
Irish mob.
Yep. Whatever mob.
Danny, I think, and you helped me a lot too. I'm always trying to work on my scarcity and my thinking. And we all have to do this. It's a daily task.
Right.
You have to grab a hold of all that negative stuff and throw it away. I'm glad how you say, stop, don't go there. You do that with me too.
Yep.
Somehow it makes me feel better if I use a negative words to describe the situation. If I just put it in a positive way, the plan keeps me focused.
That's right.
And that's the one thing that we need to do is focus, because whatever you focus on, you feel. So if I'm feeling like they're using me or whatever, no, I'll just come back to that plan. That plan will anchor me.
Correct.
And that anchor is awesome, because who else has that? We're all up in the air, especially all of us high I and high D people.
Right.
We love all those shiny objects and stuff. It's hard to keep us balanced, but that's a good balancing thing. What you created, Danny, in that infographic. So kudos to you, Danny boy.
Thank you, darling.
And that negative thinking, too, the negative thinking, it makes it so that it's like an adversarial relationship instead
Exactly.
of we're on the same team. That's really bad.
Exactly.
I've got to say to myself, stop, Gail, stop it. I have to hear Danny in back of me going, stop. Oh, just quit that,
Yeah.
And it's something you fight all the time. But it gets easier when you have that plan, and of course you have the love.
Yeah,
love, you do everything. And if you love the plan and you love the people, you're a winner.
Well, Chad makes a good point here, because what he says is he brings up the word emotion. And let me leave a clear thought here, so nobody's lost in how we bring this all together. Chad is right. Number one, he brings up the word emotion. Selling a property, especially when it's a primary property, a family property, is it's probably the number one emotional transaction most people will make in a lifetime, exacerbated by the fact that it's the number one financial transaction most people ever make in a lifetime. Okay? Or at least a big one for anybody. It's emotional. I don't care how much money you have. You start moving little kids around. You start moving families around. You move from this place to that place. The emotions just well up like a tidal wave. So it is our job to first be able to control our own emotions. We are the guide. Imagine going up Mount Everest and you are the local villager, the one that's been trusted to guide, and up comes this storm that you've never even seen before. Now all of a sudden you've got to give advice and your emotions are welling. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the day I actually get blown off the mountain. You have to take a beat and you have to grab onto that plan in that moment and go, stop looking at the storm, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. I know everything's starting to well up in here. I know everybody's starting to feel like we're losing control. Stick to the plan. All right, calm down, everybody. I know it's blowing. I got it. Let's sit down. Let's get back in this little tent together and let's go back over the plan. We can weather this thing. Let's get down there. And so emotions are our own first. And then once we can anchor those based in the logic of a plan that makes sense, it's proven and it's safe. And then, and only then, can we go and try to help these other people manage their emotions. So keep that in mind this week as you go out there. Chad, brilliant summary. And thank you for bringing it back from 4 or 5 weeks ago, because it's a constant theme. We want everybody beating on that same, type of control emotionally. And a plan does that. But lean in when the emotional dog bites. Go passionately into somebody's house, into their life, and say, I can help you because I have a plan. I don't care who else you're talking to. I don't care what their resume is. I don't care what company they work for. I have a plan and I can lead you. Please humor me and listen to it just for a few minutes, because at least one thing I'll promise, even if you don't hire me, I'm going to leave you better off than I found you. All right? So go out and practice that. Bring it back to me. And by the way, make it my problem. If you go do what I ask you to do each week and you bring it back here and something blew up in your face, then it's on me to fix that piece for you. Please follow the yellow brick plan. And I'll see you next Friday, okay? Good work, everybody. Leslie, Lisa, you rock for sitting in the hot seat. Good work. Chad,
Thank you.
5 gold star closeout. Thanks, buddy. Bye, guys online. Thanks.
What was that, Danny?
Okay, 5 gold stars, brother.
Oh, thank you, my man. You have a good one, all right?
You too, pal. Go get him. Bye, guys online.